So, I mean, there's just no denying it, right?
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence has completely taken the world by storm. It's organizing our lives. It's driving these monumental efficiencies. And, well, if we're being honest, it has fundamentally changed how we interact with technology. Now, we could spend all day talking about the amazing potential of AI, but we have to pivot. We have to look at the shadow it casts, because AI isn't just a tool for creation anymore. It's become the latest and maybe the most sophisticated weapon for threat actors,
Oh.
for cyber criminals.
It creates such a challenging environment. And, it's because AI doesn't just enable completely new crimes. It takes every traditional method of digital attack and just turbocharges it to an industrial scale. The speed, the personalization, the sheer volume of attacks that are possible now, it's just unprecedented.
Exactly. And that's our mission for you today. We're going to unpack precisely how AI is weaponizing cybercrime. And we're going to focus, crucially, on a region that's suddenly and uniquely exposed: South Africa. We've pulled together a stack of sources that explain why South African companies and individuals are being hit the hardest right now, with losses climbing into the millions.
And when we talk about sophistication, you really have to understand we're not talking about those old, poorly translated phishing emails anymore.
No, not at all.
We're talking about threats that are almost indistinguishable from reality. Things designed to trick even the most careful person.
So give us an example. What's in this new AI toolkit that criminals are using? What's the initial shock factor for the average person?
Well, the real shock factor is the complete erosion of trust in just basic communication. The source material details two terrifyingly effective methods. The first is generating voice-cloned deepfakes to impersonate specific people.
Right, like your boss calling you.
Exactly. Think of a CEO calling the CFO to authorize an urgent transfer, or a manager texting a team member asking for proprietary data. And second, creating these false WhatsApp messages that are grammatically perfect, contextually relevant, and they look exactly like they came from a trusted contact.
That's terrifying. Because if the voice on the phone sounds right, or the text message makes perfect sense in context, where do you even draw the line?
Yeah.
It targets the very psychology of urgency and trust that, makes modern business actually work.
Precisely. The ability of AI to generate near-perfect language, perfect biometric identifiers. It means criminals can bypass all the usual human filters, those little spelling errors, the unnatural tone, all the things that used to flag an attack are just gone.
So let's step back a bit. If we connect this to the broader African context, the sources note the whole region is already one of the most targeted globally. And that's mainly because of how fast new technology is being adopted.
That's absolutely right. The sources show that even before AI became, so accessible, the continent was already grappling with huge volumes of traditional digital crimes.
Right.
Things like DDoS attacks, ransomware, phishing. But now you introduce AI, and it acts as this perfect multiplier.
Pair multiplier effect.
Yeah. If a criminal previously had to write maybe 10 personalized phishing emails a day, AI lets them generate 10,000. The entire landscape just shifts. It lets them steal proprietary data and finances efficiently and on an industrial scale.
That makes sense. The criminal sophistication is just following the digital acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
But why South Africa specifically, in this broader African context? Why is it seeing an explosion in these highly sophisticated AI-driven threats? Is it just about scale?
It's a bit more complex than just scale. South Africa is in a very unique position because its digital acceleration has been so fast and so focused. The sources connect this rise directly to SA's rapid advancement in AI itself, plus this increased reliance on cloud computing and AI-driven services.
I see.
So when a country innovates that quickly and moves its critical systems into the cloud without hardening its defenses at the same pace, it just creates a new, complex attack surface, a target-rich environment. The sophistication of the threats is just matching the country's technological ambition.
I get the distinction now. The sophistication of the economy is the magnet. Which brings us to the core vulnerability. If AI is the weapon, what are the structural weaknesses making the region so exploitable? Our source material lays out 6 crucial vulnerability factors. Let's start with the big picture, the legal and policy gaps.
We have to start there. It creates this atmosphere of, impunity. The first factor is a noticeable lack of enforcement of existing laws, the laws that are meant to mandate cybersecurity practices and punish offenders. If criminals know they can operate with a low risk of consequence, they're incentivized to invest in better tools.
So the laws are on the books, but the systems, judicial, enforcement, they aren't equipped to actually prosecute these digital, often transnational crimes. And that seems to lead directly to the second factor, which is this confusion in the legal system about accountability.
It's a huge problem. Technology has just moved way past policy. Think about that deepfake scenario again. A synthetic voice convinces an employee to transfer millions. Who's legally responsible?
Good question.
Is it the person who deployed the AI? Is it the business that failed to install, say, a multi-factor authentication protocol for financial transfers? Or is the legal system itself just struggling to define the crime because the actor wasn't physically present or even human? This confusion creates a legal loophole that criminals exploit every single day.
It's not just a technical problem then, it's a failure of governance to keep pace.
Okay, so moving on from the governmental gaps, we find these internal, operational, and knowledge gaps inside South African businesses. What's the biggest knowledge issue? That would be factor number 3, a significant and widespread lack of knowledge among company staff. They can't effectively recognize and counter these AI threats. If your security training only covers spam filters and suspicious attachments, your staff is completely unprepared for the CEO's perfect voice calling them at 10 p.m. That knowledge gap is precisely where the deepfakes land.
In compounding that confusion, we've got factor number 4, inefficient security protocols, specifically for business communication and financial actions.
Absolutely. The security protocols are just leaky. If a company still relies on a single email confirmation or a quick phone call to verify a 5-figure transfer, that protocol hasn't been updated since, 2010? Those are functionally useless against the current wave of AI crime that can perfectly mimic human authorization. The core issue is that so many systems were built on the assumption that voice or text is identity. AI just shattered that assumption.
Okay, so we have lax enforcement, confused staff, and outdated protocols. Now let's talk about the foundational problems, the infrastructure and societal gaps.
Right. The 5th factor highlights vulnerability that stems from infrastructure that is, quite simply, outdated. You can go out and buy the most expensive, state-of-the-art AI defense software in the world.
Yeah.
But if the foundational system it's running on the hardware, the network, is old, patched, and porous, the threat actors will find the cracks. It's like building a fortress on a leaky, swampy foundation. Eventually, the whole structure just fails.
And finally, number 6. This one's a broader societal challenge, not just for corporations. Digital illiteracy, especially in rural areas.
This is critical. It represents a massive unprotected segment of the population. That gap in basic digital knowledge makes large groups of people extremely vulnerable to sophisticated AI-driven social engineering. An automated phishing campaign that targets millions of people at once can get huge returns just by explaining a lack of awareness about identity theft or digital safeguards.
So if you pull all 6 of these points together, the lack of legal clarity, the internal knowledge gaps, and the external infrastructure and literacy issues, it's a perfect storm. It's an environment where these highly effective AI technologies can confuse, misrepresent, and successfully steal information, money, data. It's hard to imagine a more perfect target.
It creates a strategic problem, absolutely. But the good news is that the source material isn't just focused on the diagnosis, it's also focused on the required defense.
Right. If the threat is AI-powered, the defense has to be equally advanced. And critically, it has to start with the human element. The most immediate requirement highlighted in the sources is this mandate for education. We need to rapidly educate the public and companies on the latest AI methods being used by criminals.
And that's where professional solutions are stepping in to bridge that knowledge gap. We're seeing a big rise in demand for cybersecurity companies like DaVinci Cybersecurity. They're being brought in specifically to educate staff and implement those more advanced security protocols because the old DIY approach just isn't cutting it.
They're right on the front lines of this fight. Sharon Knowles, the CEO of DaVinci Cybersecurity, is quoted emphasizing their continuous effort to educate, analyze, and recommend solutions. Her point is clear. You need immediate, up-to-date intelligence on what criminals are trying now. Yesterday's defenses are useless against today's deepfakes.
That immediate intelligence is vital because, technically speaking, the requirements of the past are simply, they're no longer sufficient. You can't fight an AI with a 15-year-old firewall. AI-powered crime demands equally sophisticated AI defenses. It's an arms race of computational power and strategy.
So let's get specific on the technical side. What are the high-level strategies needed to counter this?
Okay, first and foremost, AI-enhanced threat detection. We need systems that learn faster than the criminals AI learns to attack. Beyond that, adopting architectural frameworks like Zero Trust Architecture or ZTA is critical.
Okay, for listeners who might not be deep in IT security, can you just briefly explain Zero Trust Architecture? Why is it so suited to fighting these AI threats?
Sure. Think of it simply. Zero trust is the philosophy of never trust, always verify. Traditional security assumes that once you're inside the network, you're safe. ZTA assumes every user, every device, every connection is potentially compromised.
Inside or out?
Exactly. It requires rigorous verification for every single access point. And this is crucial against AI-driven impersonation because ZTA demands multiple non-mimicable verification steps for every key action. It effectively neutralizes a deepfake that's just relying on fooling a single human or a single protocol.
That makes the distinction perfectly clear. Assume the worst, build multiple barriers. What else?
Well, given the increased cloud adoption we talked about in South Africa, sophisticated cloud security is paramount. Beyond ZTA and cloud defense, businesses need tech that can detect anomalies instantly.
And what about the actual tools, the software and hardware that need to be stepped up?
Those traditional solutions have to be significantly hardened. We need advanced encryption tools. The data has to be scrambled, even if it gets stolen. We need next-generation intrusion detection systems, which can spot subtle behavioral changes, like a deepfake attempting to log in. And we need modern firewalls.
You mentioned in our prep polymorphic threats. That sounds like a serious term. Can you ground that for us?
Yeah, it's essentially malware that constantly changes its underlying code, its signature. Think of it like a virus that mutates every few hours. Traditional defenses, like antivirus software, rely on a fixed database of known signatures. They can't keep up. You need AI-driven systems that recognize the behavior of the threat, not just its static identity. The reliance on outdated, static tools has to end.
It sounds like the defense required here needs massive investment and coordination, which is why the sources stress building partnerships. This can't happen in a silo.
Precisely. We need escalated awareness and cooperation in both the private sector and public environments. Addressing these foundational vulnerabilities, from infrastructure to digital literacy, requires strong, coordinated partnerships between government, tech providers, and businesses. It's the only way to develop robust AI solutions that can meet this criminal ingenuity head-on.
Because no single entity, not the government, not a private company, not an individual, can tackle a massive automated deepfake campaign on its own. Resilience requires a network defense.
Exactly.
This has been a profoundly insightful, a bit sobering, deep dive. Let's bring it all back to the key takeaways for you, the listener. We've established that AI presents this new, difficult aspect of digital tech where it's nearly impossible for the unaware or even the trained to tell what's real from what's fake.
And the complexity of these attack methods, when you combine them with South Africa's 6 systemic vulnerabilities, from legal confusion to digital illiteracy, it creates this uniquely fertile ground for sophisticated cybercriminals.
And the crux of protection, according to our sources, is multifaceted but clear. Having the right skills, the necessary education, and crucially, updating your digital protections to assume compromise and constantly verify identity. That is critical to protecting everyone's information. Now, for a final provocative thought, something for you to mull over this week. We've spent a lot of time talking about sophisticated impersonation, like voice-cloned deepfakes. If you can no longer rely on the familiar sound of a colleague's voice on the phone or the context of a text message, how do you verify identity? What does trust even look like in a business or personal setting when the human voice is no longer evidence? That's the challenge AI has presented to all of us. We'll dive deeper into solutions next time.